Hey guys, it's Miss Barr, and we're going to introduce some characters to you so you feel a little bit more at ease. Now, first, this is Scout, not Scott. Scout. Her real name is Jean Louise Finch. She is a young girl living with her father and her brother during the Great Depression in rural Alabama. Then we have Jem. Jem is her brother. Jem is short for Jeremy. Jem is very devoted to his sister. He loves her greatly. He does still find her like a pain every once in a while, but they are best friends. He's with her all the time, and he is going to struggle a lot through this book, coming to grips with the idea that what is popular is not always right, and what is right is not always popular. This is something that is going to cause massive problems throughout his world, and he is going to grow up in a society that he does not necessarily agree with. Then we have Atticus Finch. Atticus Finch is an older gentleman. He got married when he was older. His wife has passed away from a heart attack 2 years after Scout was born. He works as a state senator on top of being one of the best attorneys in the area. He's not really big into criminal law. He does a lot more taxes and dealing with civil suits rather than do criminal law, but he is extraordinarily gifted in the law. Up next, we have Calpurnia. Calpurnia is A, named after a queen, and B, she is extraordinary in this book. Calpurnia is raising, for all intents and purposes, the Finch children. She is not live-in. She normally goes home, but when Atticus is away, she lives with the family and makes sure that the children are well taken care of. She is a stand-in for the mother that they have lost. They love Calpurnia intensely, even though, of course, Scout's got to complain when she doesn't let her get her way. Up next, we have Miss Maudie. Now, Miss Maudie in the movie is much different than Miss Maudie in the book. Miss Maudie in the book is very much a in the dirt, we're hardworking woman who lives by herself. Now, Miss Maudie is their neighbor, their friend, and she is just a little bit more open-minded than the rest of the town. She is going to really play a reflection of people who are afraid to stand up for what they believe in because they don't want to shake the status quo. Moving down, Dill. Dill is a very odd looking child. That is the author actually based Dill, pardon me, after her best friend, a man named Truman Capote. You can actually look him up. Later on, Dill will become rich and famous. He will write Breakfast at Tiffany's and In Cold Blood. He will start an entire genre of literature. But right now, he's kind of this awkward kid, and poor Dill is in a very bad position. In order to understand Dill, we have to understand that there were certain ideas or ideologies that were held at this time that are no longer held in America. And Dill was born out of wedlock. That means his mother was not married when he was born. What ends up happening to Dill throughout the course of the book is he spends almost all of his time at other people's homes. At this time, if a woman had a child and she had not had a husband, it was considered bad, and that child was considered to be less or evil. I mean, there's a lot of horrible ideas that people had that just make no sense, and he was kind of a victim of that. And so Truman was in the same boat. So what ends up happening is Dill is transferred from relative to relative to relative to relative to keep him away from his mother so that she can have a normal life and try to find a husband. And so he spends his time with his Aunt Stephanie, and she takes care of him during the summers. He meets up with Jem and Scout because they live next door, but he lies. He lies about everything. I mean, the moment he meets somebody, he starts lying. And that's because he's been taught that if people find out that he was born out of wedlock, that he doesn't have a father, that they won't let him play with their kids, that they won't talk to him, that they look down on him. So he tries to cover it up immediately. And you're going to see it immediately as soon as they meet him. he gets into a position where he tells them the truth, and it kind of is awkward. So when an adult talks to him, he immediately says he has a father, and it's kind of sad. But do know, even though Dill's kind of awkward and kind of weird, he does grow up and have a good life. Now we're gonna go down. The Yules. Okay, the Yules are literally a family that embodies all the bad in humanity. Mr. Yule is a child abuser in like the worst way possible. He is a drunkard. He doesn't work. His children and him literally live at the dump. They are the epitome of a really horrible stereotype that is known as poor white trash. And it's disgusting that it's even brought up that he literally does not care. His wife is long gone. He doesn't make his kids go to school. His children have diseases and they have infections, and he doesn't care. And through the course of this, we're going to see him as he is the worst of humanity, and he is going to exemplify that particular group. Now, as we go down, we have Mayella. Mayella is a transitional character. She is a character who begins her entire intent here. She begins as someone that we almost pity and we feel for because her dad doesn't help her in any way, because she does live at the dump, because everybody already dislikes her just because of her last name. And we feel for her. But at the end, what she becomes is just like her dad. And we're left wondering if she had not, if she could have ever not lived up to the Yule name. Could she have not become her father? Or was she always destined to become just like him? Let us go down. This is Miss Stephanie Crawford. That's Dill's and super gossip, extraordinarily big gossip. And she exemplifies that nosy neighbor kind of archetype. This is Tom Robinson. Tom Robinson is what we call a mockingbird character. Now, this is not Mockingjay, please, no Hunger Games, guys. He's a mockingbird character. Now, what that mean by that is he is somebody who just wants to help. And in doing so, he ends up being harmed horribly. He has no ill intentions. He in no way wants to hurt anyone. But in trying to help, he ends up hurting himself. Then we go down. We have the Reverend Sykes. Reverend Sykes is awesome. We're going to like Reverend Sykes. Reverend Sykes is one of those no-nonsense kind of gentlemen. He is a reverend for the First Purchase Church, the black church in their town. And he is just the nicest gentleman. But he's kind of no-nonsense. So when people try to lie to him or make excuses to him, he's like, no, don't even give me that. Now let's go down. Judge Taylor. Judge Taylor is a very interesting character because Judge Taylor has to preside over a trial, and he already knows what the outcome is going to be. But he tries so hard for it to be different. He tries so hard to break the cycle of racism, but he has to do so in a very quiet way, because if he does go forward and he makes a lot of noise, he knows they're going to replace him as judge, because judges at this time have to be elected. And if they replace him, then they're going to get somebody worse. So it's a very, very fine line that he walks. Let us continue. We have Walter Cunningham. Walter Cunningham actually personifies a different group. Like the Yules are the white folks in town who really are unwilling to work, unwilling to do anything. They are the poor that try to leech off of everyone else. But the Cunninghams are different. The Cunninghams are poor. They do have a hard time going through school because they have to work so hard, but they work as hard as possible. And they have a type of nobility and dignity in the fact that while they are poor, they are sustainable. They are self-sustainable. They do not take from anyone. But that's even at the cost of any luxury that they have, including food. So we meet Walter Cunningham and the Cunningham family. So on one side of the poor white section of the society in Maycomb, we have the Yules, and on the other side we have the Cunninghams. And we have to take a look at What are the big discrepancies? What are the differences between these groups and how is it that they interact within the society? Let us go down. Aunt Alexandria is not in the movie at all, so I just had to pick a photo. This is what she looks like. Now, Aunt Alexandria is a refined Southern lady, and her big goal in life is to make Scout a good Southern woman. And it is very, very, very difficult for her to achieve her goal. So we're going to take a look at it and decide if we like her, if we don't like her, if we understand her at all, because she is a very complex character. We have Sheriff Tate. Sheriff Tate, of course, is the law in Maycomb, and he has a really hard time with this particular trial because he knows the truth and he understands what happened. But he also knows that there is nothing that he can do to keep the inevitable tragedy in the story from happening. Or could he? He might have been able to. This is Mr. Cunningham, Walter Cunningham's father. This is the Radleys. The Radleys are a weird group of people. You know that house on the street, and there's some strange people live there? That's these guys. The entire course, we hear about the Radleys, the Radleys, the Radleys. They're a family that lives on the street, but they have nothing to do with anybody else. They don't want to have anything to do with the neighbors. They never even open their door. And so a lot of people start speculating and making rumors about them because they're not social. And we're going to leave the last guy out of it. Maybe when you guys are done, you can go take a look at the pictures and see what Boo looks like. Now, I like y'all. Be good. See you later.